Hi there. Welcome to Bourbon Turntable. We are the show that blends the love of music with the love of whiskey. Tonight, we have a really fun show. I've got James Gerard here with me from House Distilling Company. We're going to be talking about some of the whiskeys that they make. We're going to be talking about some of their expansion plans they've got coming up, and just a brand that is been around for a while. But we need to know more about it because I have tried their Barrel House Select and it's fantastic. And I've got a new bottle of their new release of Rockcastle, which is uh, comes out very infrequently and is in high demand. But I've not tried it yet. I was going to try it on the show with James, so we can taste this thing together. But before we get into that, I want to tell you just a little bit about Bar Cart Co-op. Bar Cart Co-op is a collection of friends who produce content for the whiskey enthusiast. We have shows like Distillers Talk with Alan Bishop and Christy Atkinson. On that show, they talk with distillers from across the country and around the world about anything and everything in terms of distillation. Alan also has a show called One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute. If you're a distiller, you've got a question about something, anything along the process of distillation, send Alan a message and he'll post a video response for all of us to learn from. Alan also has a show called If You Have Ghosts, You Have Everything. This is a bit of a departure from the distilling world and gets more into things that are spiritual and paranormal and really interesting show. I got to be a guest on it a month or so ago. That was a lot of fun. So be sure to check that out. Every Monday night, 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central, you need to tune in to My Whiskey Den. That is live at that time. My Whiskey Den is with Pat and Mike and Mitch. Those guys do some great tastings. They have some wonderful guests, and it's always fun to hang out with the good folks in the chat. Whiskey in My Wedding Ring is David Levine's show and podcast, and he has a blog. David is a very, very smart whiskey writer, very clever guy. He and I've got a show planned here pretty soon. We're going to have a little virtual bottle share where we talk about some things that we've both been trying. So that'll be a lot of fun. So be sure to tune in for that. We also want to tell you about our show, Bourbon Turntable. If you're watching us right now on YouTube, smash that subscribe button. We would really appreciate that. If you're just listening to us, well, you're probably on one of your favorite podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, or Google. And we'll tell you more about where to find us later on in the show for sure. But before we get back to that kind of thing and all this wonderful self-promotion, I want to talk with James. James, welcome to Bourbon Turntable.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Well, we met oddly enough. You were doing a tasting in a Total Wine, and I came back and because I had not tried Barrel House Select before, and we had a great conversation about it, and so here we are. So welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So how did you get into the whiskey business?
So it's kind of a crazy story, actually. I haven't been in it that long, believe it or not. My sister and brother-in-law, or mainly my brother-in-law, actually founded the distillery, Barrel House Distilling Company. And they started in 2008. And at that time, I actually started my own company. I had a construction company down in Florida. And so I grew up in Kentucky, grew up in Lexington, and left and went to Florida and started and built a company down there. And left Florida, sold my company, and thought I was going to come back and kind of hang out and, have some fun in Kentucky. And the next thing you know, I get roped into the family business. And so I actually got introduced into the bourbon world about 3 and a half years ago. Yeah. So not a lot of experience around it, but it was kind of a great partnering. And as you kind of have hit on already, even, we are kind of a little bit of a hidden gem. And we're most people, we're not very well recognized, and that's okay with us. We have a couple reasons why we like that. But my brother-in-law, is passionate about what he does, but he wasn't big into marketing and sales and letting everybody know who he was and what have you. And that's kind of my background. So it was kind of a perfect marriage.
Yeah.
So he could use my help, and I was looking for something to do to keep me out of trouble.
Yeah. Well, I've worked with enough contractors in my life to know that working in construction can lead you to drink.
Yes, normally
But
so.
but this may be the first time that someone's gone from owning a construction company to working for a distillery. So,
Yes.
congratulations on making that leap.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great leap.
Yeah. So let's get right into. Here's a nice. That's not the cast strength. That's a nice promo shot.
Yes, that's our Barrel House Select small
Yeah.
batch.
There's the cast strength. This is nice green label. This particular one is barrel 65517, I think. Someone's handwriting's about as good as mine.
Right.
But it's 54.75 ABV. So what? I've got to do math now. 109 and a half proof. Yep. So tell us about Barrel House Select and what the significance of it is of that product.
Sure. So it's been always kind of their staple bourbon. It's the bourbon that they started making early on in the early years. We are a distillery, and kind of take a quick side note. We are a distillery that kind of did everything the long and hard way. So we actually make 8 different products, but we did start out making rum, vodka, and moonshine, and sold that while we were waiting for our bourbon to age very early on in the early years. So now we have a portfolio of a lot of different products. But the Barrel House Select was one of our starting bourbons that we started out with originally. And it's a small batch bourbon that was a blend of 3 barrels or less. And so when I first got involved in the industry, again, it was my job to kind of help them to see what they're doing marketing and sales wise and what have you. And I said, you guys, you all are making a super, very, very, very small batch bourbon, and no one knows that how small batch of it is. And so I said, I think that you got to put the word small batch on the bottle. So we did a label change. And I said, how often are we doing how many barrels? And they said, well, sometimes we dump and it's 1 barrel, and sometimes we dump it's 2 barrels, but we never dump more than 3 barrels at a time. And I said, well, that's a very, very small batch. But I think we need to split the product out and dignify it as one being a true single barrel product and one being a small batch. And so hence the bottle you have in your hand there, the single barrel cask strength, was born. Yeah. And so we started that probably about less than a year ago. And it's been a huge success. And it's a very limited release bourbon. We only release 1 barrel a month. Are you ready for this?
Yep.
For the whole state of Kentucky. 1 barrel. So as you pick up that bottle, you did give us the proof and you gave us the barrel number, but there's probably also a number on that bottle that tells me how many bottles came out of that barrel.
This is bottle 91 of 150.
There you go. There was only 150 bottles that month that got distributed of that bourbon.
So are you using standard 53-gallon barrels, or are you using smaller barrels, or how are you using it?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we are currently using all 53-gallon barrels.
Okay.
Again, anybody knows anything about bourbon? Bourbon's a very slow process. It took us 10 plus years to grow into 53-gallon barrels. So we were using obviously smaller barrels for the first 10 plus years. I don't know when it was, about 4 years ago, at least probably 4 years ago, we started filling only 53-gallon barrels, and pretty much everything we dump now is all 53 gallons. But it took a long time to get there.
Yeah. Well, what did you say the age was on this one?
So we do everything off of what's called flavor profiling.
Yep.
So we're real not concerned about the age of products. We're more looking at a specific flavor profile that we're looking for to match up to where we want it to be. So we will literally hand taste every barrel. And then decide what barrel.
That's a tough job. It's a tough job.
It is. It's,
actually, like it is hard.
It's one step below my job, as far as the funness scale goes, or above my job, I should say. Yeah. One step above mine, I should say. So yes, it is. So normally my brother-in-law or Andrew, our master distiller, is the ones that kind of decide which barrels get dumped. but all of our products, all of our aged products are done that way.
Hmm.
So, we're and kind of for those people out there that don't know what flavor profiling is, I can kind of expand on it if you want.
Yeah, please do.
All right. So we kind of work in reverse to what this is the way I always explain. We work in reverse to how the big boys do it. The big boys, they'll decide we're going to make a 4-year-old bourbon. They go to the rick house and they grab all the 4-year-old barrels. And they're not really concerned with too much of the flavor profiles of those barrels because they're going to dump like 50,000 of them at a time. So it's all going to kind of go into a blend.
Mm-hmm.
That bottle that you have, the single barrel or the blue label, the select that's 3 barrels, you better make sure you pick the right 3 barrels,
Right.
or otherwise you'll know it. So we literally hand taste every barrel before we dump it and decide which ones get dumped. And, if you know a little bit about bourbon, we can taste a 3-year-old barrel and be like, that's perfect. That's what I'm looking for right there. We can taste a 5-year-old barrel and be like, I don't think that one's quite ready yet. Let's wait till year 6 on that one. So it really has nothing to do with the age. It's more of hitting that flavor profile.
Yep.
So the quick or the long-winded answer to your question is normally those 2 bourbons are in that window of about 3 to 6 years. That's kind of where they fall.
Yeah. And when you're doing this small batch, not only do you have to make sure that you're picking, the right 3 barrels, you have to pick the right 3 barrels that blend well together.
Yes, absolutely.
Because it may be, hey, I like this barrel. Hey, I like this barrel. Hey, I like this barrel. And you put them together and it's like, no, that's not so much.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
There's definitely an art to it. Definitely an art to it.
So who's responsible at Barrel House for picking the barrels that go in the batch and doing the blending and that kind of thing?
Most of the time it's a combination of either Andrew, who's our master distiller, or Jeff, my brother-in-law.
Okay.
Those are the 2 main guys that will kind of dictate which barrels they pick and which ones get dumped. We haven't moved into the Rockcastle yet, but that's normally kind of sometimes even more of a collaborative with more of us. It's kind of a fun outing because, as you said, it's kind of a rarity. So it's more of a special day that we do.
Yeah. So you have, you said you had a bottle of the Barrel House Select with you as well. Is that right?
Yeah, I do. I have one
Yep.
right here in front of me.
Okay. So you've got the small batch there.
Yep.
And I've got the cask strength. Now, when I met you and I got to try this with you, one of the things that I said, I don't know if you remember or not, is that it really is grain forward. The corn of it really it stays with it. It's not masked by the barrel, and I for one really like that. It kind of has a corn pudding and a nice cherry note on the nose, and then on the palate, it's nice and sweet. It's there's some cinnamon in it, well, almost like a cherry cobbler.
Yep. I think that'd be a great way to describe it.
Yeah, so I like that a lot. Very good, easy to drink, which is kind of dangerous at 109.5 proof. But
yes,
yeah. Now, do you ever do cocktails with this, or is this kind of we don't want to
absolutely
go there with that?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, for those that don't know, we not only do we have Barrel House Distilling Company, but we do have a connected tavern to our distillery called the Elkhorn Tavern, and we serve all of our products in that tavern. And of course, they, our bourbons make great cocktails. They make great old fashions, Manhattans, however you like to drink it, whether it's neat or on the rocks, you really can kind of serve it up any way you like.
Yeah. And just to make sure that people know, because if you're in the Kentucky area, it's an easy trip. But if you're coming to Kentucky to hit the Bourbon Trail, tell everybody where you're located, just so everybody knows.
So Barrel House Distilling Company, we're located in Lexington, Kentucky. And so we were in an area that we started many years ago, what's now known as the Lexington Distillery District. It was an old distillery that had sat vacant for about 50 years. It had been multiple distilleries before. It was a Henry Clay distillery. It was James E. Pepper's distillery at one point in time. Then it became the Shinley Corporation. In our old distillery here, there was H&H that was made at one point in time, Stag Junior, all those products that people think of with Buffalo Trace were actually made right here first.
Yeah.
And
a lot of great history, right
great
there
history.
where you are and in that area. I mean, you can literally spend the day just where you are there in the distillery district, because James Pepper is your neighbor.
Yes.
Right.
That's what I like to always tell people is I like to give them a little bit of a heads up. Come visit us, but plan the whole day. Because what we did is when we moved into the distillery, we didn't purchase the whole distillery. We only purchased a portion of it. So therefore, what happened is other distilleries moved in. So we actually have 3 different distilleries currently represented right now. All where you can park your car and walk to all of them. Yeah. There's James E. Pepper, as you said. RD1 has a presence. And there's 2 breweries located down here. There's also pizza, tacos, ice cream, our tavern, a couple other taverns. There's a lot to do, all within walking distance. So it's can make a whole fun day of it.
Well, the thing about it is, if you're going there, you just need to go to Elkhorn Tavern, because well, let me put in a little plug for you here.
Yeah, I think.
First of all, you go to Elkhorn, get the burgoo, and if you're not from Kentucky and you don't know what burgoo is, this is where you learn, because it's fantastic.
Now, I'm gonna give you a little side note that you may not know about. We were awarded Kentucky's best burgoo in the state of Kentucky by Gun and Garden magazine. So yes, thanks for the plug.
Yes. Well, see, I'm right. but go there, and we're talking about a couple of the bourbons specifically tonight, but there's a lot more product that you guys have. There's even more than what's in this shot. So tell everybody about the other things that you guys have to offer.
Sure. So we actually, gosh, it's changing every day now. So currently we are up to 9 products that we make and distribute. We make 3 bourbons, 2 rums, 2 moonshines, 1 amazing vodka, and this week we just released our first rye whiskey.
Wow.
It's called so you probably may not even be aware of that one, because it literally we just handed it over within days. It's called Licking River Rye.
Okay.
And we can talk about why we named it that later. But there's some homage being paid there.
Sure.
Yes, that's our latest rye.
Yeah. But in Elkhorn, there's a nice bar there. It's a fantastic restaurant. And the way we did it, there was probably 6 or 7 of us that were on this little trip. And everybody ordered different flights with different spirits represented in the flight. And we just kind of passed glasses around, because it's post-COVID, everybody was good. So, but you got to try a lot of really, really good stuff. And, so it was a lot of fun. So in all seriousness, just make the trip. If you're in Kentucky, go to see these guys at Barrel House, and go to Elkhorn, and there's plenty to do right there in the distillery district. And don't overlook it when you're planning your trip to Kentucky. Don't get too infatuated with trying to go on the tour for the big bourbon distilleries. Those are fine, those are great, but that's what all your buddies did when they came to Kentucky.
Absolutely.
Find something different.
And we hear, little, maybe a little biased, but we hear on a daily basis, we've been to all the other big boy distilleries, but yours has been the best tour we've ever done. And the reason is it's just completely different. It's very small. We're very, very small. We're very, very intimate. If you're here during the week, you can shake our master distiller's hand. He's not hidden up in some control room somewhere. We're just it's a different feel. So if you're looking for a unique, different experience, come do a tour with us. Most people describe the Elkhorn Tavern as just being a little homey, cozy place. There's like leather chairs and couches, and it's just, there's a fireplace roaring typically most days, and it's just very cozy to come and hang out and feel at home.
Yeah. And as we're sitting here talking, I'm going to kind of shift conversation just a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at the glass, and you probably can't see it in the camera shot, but This is some clingy whiskey. Uh,
Yes.
Very oily. So tell me a little bit about the still that you use.
Yes, I'm glad you asked. So, one of the things that, and as you had said, this is how we met. I do tasting 7 days a week.
Mhm.
This is kind of what I do. I'm always out in either a liquor store, a restaurant, a bar, doing an event somewhere, what have you. And one of the feedbacks I always get is, or a question I always get started with is, they'll ask me, what does it taste like?
Mhm.
Give me a brand that it's similar to. And my answer always is I don't think it's really similar to much anything out there.
Mhm.
And they're like, okay. And I said, so I'm going to reverse that question on you. I'm going to
Mhm.
let you try it. And then you tell me what you think it tastes like.
Mhm.
And 99.9% of the time, people always say, you know what? You're right. It's different.
Yeah.
There's something different about it. What is that? That's not like the normal bourbon I drink.
Mhm.
And so I think what makes us so unique and different is that kind of goes into who we are and what we stand for and what we believe in.
Mhm.
Is that we make everything small batch,
Mhm.
and it's all made by hand, and it's all made on a pot still. And
Mhm.
of course, most importantly, it's all made by us. So we don't
Yes.
reblend or relabel or that kind of stuff. We actually make our products. Um, so that type of process that we do tends to separate us out from the big boys and the other distilleries that are running it through a column and
Mhm.
getting similar types of flavors and feeds and what have you. Ours is actually our pot still is one of the few, and I have never got a specific number, but I'm
Mhm.
guessing it's probably I can count probably on one hand of stills that are in the United States that are open flame natural gas pot stilled.
Oh wow.
So, yeah, very, very rare. Most people don't do it the way we do it. So I think that really brings out a whole different set of flavors. Probably changes the viscosity that you're talking about, you
Mhm.
know, and gives a very unique profile.
Yeah. Yeah. The when I first tried it, the comparison that came to mind, and it's not that it's that close, but I think it's more the the viscosity of it
Hmm.
and the grain forward nature of it. The comp that came to my mind was Glen's Creek.
Okay. Yeah.
And again, the same kind of thing as far as pot still, very small batch, very
Yep.
hands on.
Yep.
Every barrel is known really well
Yes.
by the people that run
Yes.
the place.
Yes.
So it's the same kind of philosophy, I think. And I hope you take that as a compliment because
I
it was
do. I do.
intended
I
as
take that
one.
as a compliment that
Yeah.
basically you're agreeing and saying, yes, you can taste the difference with that little bit of extra love and passion that we put into being the size that we are in.
Oh,
You know?
sure. I mean, the big guys make great whiskey. There's,
Yeah.
but if you're in business to try to mimic, uh, Brown Foreman or mimic Buffalo Trace, you're not going to be in business very long because there's no way to compete with that.
Correct.
You've got to be different. You
Yes.
have to establish yourself something that is a differentiator,
Well,
and I think you do that really well.
thank you. I mean, funny that you say that. Let me go on a little tangent to explain that why we are that way, because that really is who we are. Like you just summed it up. So I'm going to blow a lot of people's minds right now because this is one that always throws people off. We were actually Kentucky's ninth physical distillery since Prohibition.
Hmm. Wow,
Right? So
that's
what does
amazing.
that mean? Ninth physical distillery. Well, that means basically that when we started in 2008, there
Hmm.
were only 8 distilleries in the state of Kentucky. And it's the 8 big boys, as you just said. Jim
Right,
Beam, Maker's Mark, Four Roses, Heaven Hill, Wild Turkey, Edwin's, Bullet, and Buffalo Trace.
right,
I think I got them all. That was it. And they were all big boys.
right.
And so they had a different mission back in that time period. They were trying to race to get their product around the world. And they've all accomplished it. I mean, you can go to Japan and buy Buffalo Trace. You can go to
Right,
China and buy, Jim Beam. You can go to Australia and buy Makers.
right.
They've accomplished it. They're now worldwide. Like you said, it would be almost impossible to compete with them. And so we actually set up a different mission. We never wanted to become a big boy. And that's why we're kind of the little hidden secret that we are, is because we stayed small and we said, we might pass up on a few dollars, but we're going to make award-winning products. We're going to make them all small batch. We're going to make them by hand. We're going to pay the full attention to the way we do things on a pot still with an open flame. And, that's our story. I mean, you really kind of nailed it right there.
Yeah. Well, it's a great approach to take, because you see distilleries all the time that they pop up, and you know what their business model is.
Yes.
We're going to source whiskey. We're going to create a big marketing campaign and get our name out there and hope that somebody buys us.
Yeah. I mean, and I run into that every day, to put it in perspective. I was just at a meeting the other day, and the KDA president was there, and I didn't have a current number, but again, in 2008, we were the 9th distillery. Today, there's over 103 distilleries in the state of Kentucky. So that's how much change has happened in growth, which is a great thing for the industry. But you are right. There is now a lot of people out there that got their own little business plan of how they're trying to get a piece of the pie.
Yeah. Well, let's make sure everybody knows how to find you guys. So tell everybody, please.
Yeah. So barrelhousedistillery.com is our website. We are on social media, so you can find us on Instagram and Facebook. And we are located at 1200 Manchester Street, Lexington, Kentucky, 40504. And like I said, it's a great place to visit.
Yeah. Yep. It really is. It's I've been there a few times, and just bourbon tourism, it's a thing and it's real. And some people take one approach to it, which can be very hands off and sterile. But you guys are different. It's much more intimate and much more you get to be close to the process and what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes a big difference.
It is.
So I'm going to pour some of this Rockcastle. But while I'm doing this, I believe you guys have some expansion plans in the works, right?
We do. So we are currently in the process of building our second distillery, which is exciting. And we are building that in Cynthiana, Kentucky, which is about 30 minutes away from Lexington. And we're going to build a new facility out there, a new still, and also have a new rick house built out there. So we'll move our barrels to that storage to be stored there. And that facility is going to be deemed basically for the select bourbon. So the blue label and the green label, Barrel House Select and Barrel House Select Single Barrel Cask Strength, will be made in Cynthiana. And the other 7-8 products that we currently make at our current distillery will all still be made there on our pot stills. So I'll do a little plug and pat on the back. So Barrel House Select, which is the blue label, this one right here, just won double gold in the World Spirit Competition out in San Francisco this year. So the popularity of it has gotten fantastic and grown tremendously. And so we're trying to keep up with production, and we're trying to do it, like I said, the old small batch hand way. And so we need a little bit more space. So that's what's creating the second distillery.
That's great. And but you'll keep the current space?
Will. Yep, we'll keep the current space.
Have a lot more capacity for the Barrel House Select, both the small batch and for the cask strength. So that'll be great. And those are rye bourbons, correct?
They are, yes. Both of those are a rye bourbon. You want I can disclose the mash bill if that would help everyone?
Sure.
So it's 70% corn,
Mhm.
21% rye, and 9% malted barley.
Yeah. Yeah. That corn comes through. I love it. I love
Yep,
it.
yep, yep. It
Um,
gets that sweetness.
yeah. Um, now for the Rockcastle,
Yes,
now that is a wheated bourbon, right?
it is. It is.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to share the mash bill on
Sure,
that one?
sure, sure. That
Okay.
one's 60% corn,
Mm-hmm.
30% wheat, and 10% malted barley.
Oh, that's a nice mash bill.
Yeah,
Now
it's a really
this, well, I didn't try it till just now,
okay.
but I did pour a little bit before the show, and so I was playing around with the nose on it, and the first blush of it, it was real fruit forward, and it was like, okay, this is like fruit stripe
Okay,
gum.
okay,
And as it sat, it became less candy citrus and more just real citrus, and there's almost like a cola Dr. Pepper note
okay.
on the
Fun.
nose.
Yeah,
But the when I taste it, there's like toffee,
yeah, yeah.
honey grams. There's still that citrus in there, and those um, my friends over on my whiskey den and I talk about what we call fat guy tasting notes. So, um, so
It's got
the
all those.
yeah, the cow tail candies that are like
Oh man, yes, that
the,
caramely
the,
sweet.
the
Yeah,
it's caramel and then it's got the creaminess in the inside. Yeah,
yeah.
that it's got that going on.
I always tell people, to me, it tastes like candy in a bottle.
Mhm.
It's got all that sweetness.
Yeah, and it's oh man, that's good. It's that high wheat mash bill that I think helps
Yeah.
contribute to that. And oh yeah, that's delicious. Now, tell us that this is a fairly rare release, right?
Yes. Very, very rare, actually.
Mhm.
So Rockcastle, we only release twice a year. That's it.
Okay.
Each release we do is less than 750 bottles.
Mhm.
And so you're talking 1,500 bottles for a whole given year throughout the whole state of Kentucky.
Mhm.
And that's the other important thing. I hate to tease your audience on this one, but I'm going to,
Mhm.
is that all of our products are made here in Kentucky and
Mhm.
exclusively only sold in Kentucky. So you
Mhm.
do have to come visit us in Kentucky to be able to get a bottle of these. They are exclusive to Kentucky only.
Right. Or know somebody that can
Yes, exactly, exactly.
help you out.
It's funny that you say that, because that's one of my favorite things to do. Is I will be down at the distillery on release day, and there'll be a line out the door for Rockcastle, and you'll hear the buzz and people talking, and it's always, I don't know, my brother sent me down here to get some kind of bottle.
Yes,
And
exactly
you
right.
just hear that word, that same sentence repeated over and over and over.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, I know someone in Kentucky, I'll send them down there to get a bottle.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This is bottle 7.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, bottle 7 of
Nice.
batch 17. Yeah. 56.5 proof. So it's what, 113?
There
That's
you go.
nice.
Yep. Yep.
Does not drink at
No.
113. So it's one that's very easy to I will, in nice weather, which we're approaching here in Kentucky, I'll sit on the deck and listen to music and drink a pour or 2 or 3, and this is where you could get into, pour 5 or 6
Yes.
pretty
Yeah,
easy.
absolutely. It, that's one of the comments that we get a lot, and it's kind of, I know, a generic comment, but our products tend to be really smooth, for what their proofs are. Um, like you said, the single barrel that's 109 doesn't taste like 109. The 90 proof doesn't taste like a 90 proof, and the 113
Mhm.
Rockcastle normally tastes a lot smoother than
Yeah.
that as well.
Yeah. There's no harshness or bite, no uh big Kentucky hug with it. So if you're looking for something that's going to smack you in the face, uh, this probably isn't it. But if you're looking something that has a lot of really good flavor to it, that you can really enjoy and enjoy with your friends. Uh, Both of these products are, you know, right up your alley.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's talk about music a little bit.
Yeah.
Change gears a bit.
Yeah.
So James, I mean, the reason that I started this show, gosh, 2.5 years ago, I guess, was because what I did a lot with my friends is we would sit around and we would drink whiskey on my patio and we would play music and we would talk about music and we'd talk about whiskey. And then somebody would say something about, well, have you had this bottle? And I said, well, let me go grab it. Or,
Right.
hey, have you heard this new band? Or what about this guitar solo? And so that's just how the conversation went. And so, what, you know, maybe other people think like that too.
Yep. I
So
think we
that's
do.
how this got started.
That's
Um, but I always want to talk to the guests on the show about what got them into music, because there are very few people. I think I've had one person on the show that really wasn't into music very much.
really. Oh wow.
Yes. So that's I don't know about that one guy, but
Right.
he's a really good distiller, so we'll give him a pass. Um, but most everybody else has some good music stories to tell. So the first thing I want to ask you is, do you
Yeah.
remember the first album you ever bought?
Um, Bought. I remember probably my first album listening over and over. I don't know if I remember buying it. I think it was even younger than the age of buying it. But I
Yeah,
think AC/DC Back in Black was kind of like my album
yeah.
growing up. So
That's you can't go wrong with that.
no, no. Uh, uh, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that was kind of so a little personal history about myself. I have two older sisters.
Okay.
Um, and when I was young, and I'm trying to think of how old I was probably somewhere in that 5 to 7 year age, I guess,
Mhm.
at the time. And my sister had a boyfriend that all he ever listened to was AC/DC. And so he kind of introduced it to me,
Mhm.
and I was hooked from that point forward
Yeah.
and listened to it. And I am assuming it was probably when I got a little older. I was probably more in my teenage years that I will say Back in Black was the first song. You probably back in the old days, we didn't have, the technology that we have today. So I hand wrote down all the lyrics. Like, you'd
Yes.
listen to the radio and you'd write down the lyrics so you can memorize them.
Yes.
And that was the first song I ever remember memorizing the lyrics to. Um, and
That's
then
awesome.
something, yeah, right. And then
Yes.
something happened to me recently that I just chuckle about. So hopefully you'll appreciate this. I was listening to Spotify or one of them, and
Mhm.
they have how they have the lyrics that shows up as the song's
Yes.
playing, and I'm like, oh, I never realized it said that. So I probably
Yes.
wrote it down wrong
Right.
originally. I'm saying it for the last 40 some years wrong.
Yeah. Because I mean, there are some segments of that song where the lyrics are pretty rapid fire,
Yeah,
and Brian Johnson does not necessarily have the most coherent voice or delivery in the world either.
right.
So I would
Yeah,
wonder how accurate the dictation of those lyrics would be,
right.
especially
Well, I
for
can tell you
for
I was
yeah.
wrong. So. um,
No. How about first concert? Do you remember your first concert?
I do actually. I do. So my first concert was the Beach Boys.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
yeah. So I went with my mom and dad actually. So it was the first concert I
Yeah.
ever went to, as a family. And it was fun, and it was
Yeah.
wild back then, and I didn't know who the Beach Boys were. I didn't, I was again young, very,
Sure.
very young. But that was my first exposure to a concert.
Well, that's great. Did you ever see AC/DC?
I didn't. I
Yeah.
did not. I did not. Um,
I think they're going out on tour again.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. They're Angus Young's what, 107 now? I don't know. But yeah, I think they've announced a bunch of tour dates in Europe and
Okay.
through the summer, and who knows, maybe they'll be back in the United States in the fall.
There you go.
And everybody that's seen them, even at the advanced age, says it's heck of a show. So
I'm sure I would believe that.
yeah,
You know,
well, if they show up at Rupp or Yum Center, we'll have to go. How
there
about
you
that?
go. There you
Yeah.
go. That sounds like a plan.
What do you listen to now?
Man, I don't want to sound generic, but my playlist is so wide and
Hmm.
range. I mean, I literally listen to pop, country, rap. I mean, I
Yeah.
listen to it all. I mean, I really do. 70s music. I mean, I just literally, I'm all across the board depending on my mood.
Yeah. So what year did you graduate high school?
88.
Okay.
That's 1900 in case you,
Yeah. Okay. So all right. So
just to clarify,
yeah.
not
No, I'm
1700.
look. I'm with you. Okay. I'm a few years ahead of you, but I'm with you. So I just Googled music of 1988, and you got
Yep.
some Guns N' Roses, "Sweet Child of
Yep.
Mine,"
Yep.
some Phil Collins in there,
Yep.
uh, Robert Palmer. There you go.
There you go. Yep. Yep.
So what were you listening to as what was young James listening to when he was getting ready to graduate from high school?
Goodness. I was a big Prince fan in high school. I remember that. I
Oh
loved
yeah,
Prince. So I was real into Prince. Funny story about Guns N' Roses. So all my friends that I hung out with, especially the girls, um, they all loved Guns N' Roses, and they
yeah.
just wooed and over them. And I'm like, come on, guys. I said, if you saw that guy on the street and you didn't know he was Guns N' Roses, you all wouldn't give him the time of
No,
day.
no,
But but everyone at that time, you're right. If you look back, that was like
sure,
everybody wooed
right.
over them.
You see Slash walking down the street with a big top hat on. They're
Right?
not going anywhere near that guy.
Right, exactly.
Right,
You
right.
know?
Yeah. Actually, as we're recording this, this is the 8th anniversary of Prince's death.
Ah,
Can you can you believe that?
I
8
cannot
years.
believe that.
Wow.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was a huge Prince fan in that time period. That was probably, I would say, probably my number one artist.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh, that's not a bad number one to have. Uh,
no, he was fantastic.
he could literally do it all.
Yes, he could.
Anything.
Yep.
Anything.
He could
And
write, he could sing, he could dance, he could do it all.
play
I agree.
every instrument.
Yep. And
Wrote
Phil
songs
Collins,
for
I always had an
everybody.
appreciation with Phil Collins for that reason too.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he can literally play any instrument. He would sing, get up, jump on the drums, and then get off the
Yeah.
drums and jump on something else.
Play the piano. Yeah.
Play the piano. He could write. He wrote for so many people. So both of them super talented people.
Okay. So if if I was to come visit you at Distillery District and we
Yeah.
said, hey, let's run down the road here and we're gonna go invade some other distillery or something, and we jump in your vehicle,
Yep.
what's going to be playing on the ride there?
Oh man. Oh gosh, who knows? I mean, my my station setter, it literally. I mean, just depending on what time you jumped in the car, it could be on a country channel, it could be on a pop
Yeah.
station. I mean, I
So
really, yeah.
okay. So that kind of begs the question, because you're talking channels. So how do you consume music then? Are you a streaming guy? Are you a satellite
Yeah,
radio? Are you a terrestrial radio? How do you do that?
yeah. I'm just old-fashioned radio in the car,
Yeah.
Spotify at the house.
Yeah.
And that's obviously nice that all of a sudden it starts getting a little bit of what you like, and and again, that's why I'm so confident when I say it's just because the genres, when it starts picking songs, it just jumps around so much. It's not like it's all one.
Yeah. What was the last concert you saw?
The last concert I saw was Maroon 5.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Uh, that may have been a while. When's the last time Maroon
It
5
was a
was?
couple of years ago. It wasn't
Okay.
that far. But yeah,
Okay.
a couple of years ago. I was in Florida. So I'm up there.
Okay. Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, there are a few of their songs I like. It's a little too popish for me,
Yeah.
but I get that. I don't care.
Yep.
Yeah. Good stuff. Um, Anywhere you go in Lexington for music?
No.
Check out the Burl.
Yes, I mean they're 20 feet in front of us.
Yes, I know. They're right down the road. Yeah. So again, if you're going to make a day of it in Lexington, you just camp out at the distillery district. You got 3 distilleries to visit. You got a great place to eat, and then you can just go across the street to the Burl and watch a great show. Probably.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Is there a connection for you or for Barrel House between whiskey and music? Is there some sort of meeting of the minds there?
Maybe not necessarily for me. For the establishment, I would say probably yes. Normally, because we have kind of a very set feel and theme for the tavern. So that music that you'll find in our tavern is going to be either local. We do live music, local talent, and it can kind of range in that folky, bluegrass, 70s, country, kind of feel. And I say all that, the live music just got done playing here, and they've got Post Malone playing. So, which is another one of my favorites, by the way.
There you go.
But not the norm for our tavern, I will say.
Yeah.
So I think we might have some young bartenders in there controlling the music right now.
But again, live music at the tavern, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Because if you listen very carefully in the background, you would hear that because James is in the gift shop, which is just right next door to the tavern. So yeah, good stuff. Yeah. Anything coming up for you music wise? You got any concerts that you're planning on going to, or
goodness,
new music you're looking forward to?
I'm gonna tell you a little side personal note. So there's one artist that I'm like, I really want to see him before he moves forward. And I heard that he was playing in New York. I started contemplating it actually. I'm like, could I squeeze that in? Is there any way I could make that happen? And it was Billy Joel. He was playing his 100th concert at Madison Square. And I thought, man, is there any way I can make that happen? And I only heard it like less than a week before. And I'm like, I don't think I can make it happen. And then like 2 days later, they played it on regular TV. And I was like so excited. So I know it's not the same experience, but I felt like I got to see him perform, a concert, not in live, but I really have a lot of appreciation for Billy Joel as well.
Yeah. My in-laws, who are not into rock music, pop music at all, they were traveling, and with the group they were traveling with, went to see Billy Joel, and they could not stop talking about how much they enjoyed it.
Well, there you go. See?
Oh, yeah. No, incredibly talented guy.
Yeah.
And great songwriter, great performer. Yep. You start, well, let's name all of Billy Joel's hits. We'll be here a while. Right?
Yes.
Plus, he was married to Christy Brinkley, so that he's got that going for him too.
Exactly.
Uptown Girl. All right. Well, let's we'll kind of start bringing this show to conclusion. And if you got a way to get this, get it. It's outstanding. So when will the next? This batch just came out a few days ago.
Yes,
April 15th.
Just got released. Batch 17 just got released a couple days ago on April 15th. So one of the things that we did different, and again, it was kind of by my advisement, is in the past, they never had set dates. And they would just say, we just release it twice a year, spring and fall. And then they would get inundated with phone calls around that time period of, do you have Rockcastle? Do you have Rockcastle? Do you have Rockcastle?
Right.
So I said, let's just go ahead and pick 2 dates, always be the release date. And that way our fans know, because we do have quite a big following. People literally fly in almost from all around the world to buy a bottle of that Rockcastle. And it's April 15th. and October 15th. So the next release will be October 15th. And again, less than 750 bottles each release. And that's both at the distillery and distributed combined. So it's not a lot. But it's a fantastic bourbon.
Yeah. And you just came out with the Licking River Rye.
Yes.
So, let's circle back to that before we wrap things up. Tell us about that.
So we just came out with Licking River Rye, and that's us paying homage to our Cynthiana town, because that's the main river that runs through Cynthiana.
Okay.
So we named that rye after that, and they actually picked up the distribution of it the same day they picked up Rockcastle. So that will now start just this week. Will be starting to trickle out into the market.
Okay.
But of course,
again, Kentucky only.
I was gonna say, but of course, Kentucky only. That's the catcher. So we really kind of force people to they want good, real Kentucky bourbon and spirits. They got to come here and visit us.
Yeah. So, what is your mash bill on the rye?
Oh goodness. I would have to look at a cheat sheet to tell you.
That's all right.
Give me a second. I'll tell you.
All right. So we're going to find out about this Licking River Rye. It sounds very interesting. Wish I'd known about that when I was at the distillery the other day. Maybe I could pick up a bottle of that too.
Now, so the mash bill on it is 60% rye, 30% corn, 36% corn. I'm sorry, and 4% malted barley.
Okay, good.
So,
that's a good. That's kind of a differentiator for rye. You see a lot of the 95.5 because of the folks up in Indiana, MGP,
right?
And then you see a lot of the barley rye with 51% rye with like Knob Creek and things of that nature. So this is good. This is a nice little in between point.
I think so. I think so too.
Like it. Very good. All right. So, but that'll be in distribution.
It is currently now in distribution. So it will start showing up at the, probably the easiest way to start finding it will be some of the big chains like Liquor Barn and Total Wine.
Okay.
Sometimes you'll find our products in Kroger's. And then, of course, independent liquor stores and restaurants.
Okay. Is it a limited release like Rockcastle, or is it more? It is
not. We're not doing as much of a limited release. We did do a limited release. This is the first rye that we have released that we are distributing. We actually did earlier this year release a rye that was a limited release that we only released at the gift shop, and I think it might be all gone. I was going to see if we still had it or not, but I think it was. I think that has been now come and gone. It was called King Solomon.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's got a really neat story behind it, and I'm sure we can share tales about that on another day.
Well, are you going to do other special releases with ryes or other types of whiskeys?
Currently, well, I say that. Let me think about. We do have a corn whiskey that we're in production of right now. That will eventually be coming. We have done in the past, and we are currently aging right now a Rockcastle that is finished. The last time we did it was a brandy finish. This time it's a cognac finish.
Okay.
So those will be coming out. What else do we have? Anything else unique in the works? I think other than that, I think that's, it's been this year's been more of a, the last couple of years, there was a lot of exploratory that we did. And then this year we've kind of, with the new distillery going in, everything else, we've kind of had to hold the reins and really kind of concentrate on just keeping up with the everyday tasks at hand, I guess you'll say,
That's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. Exactly.
Yeah. Building a distillery is not, easy.
It's not. You have no idea.
But hey, tell everybody where they can find you on social media, and if you want to promote any of your personal social media accounts, please do that as well.
Yeah. BarrelHouseDistillery.com is the website. Barrel House. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook. Like us, obviously, we'd love to have you follow us, learn about our new products. Obviously, that's what definitely the locals do, and I guess even the non-locals. But they start liking us on social media, and then they start to get reminded. Oh, Rockcastle got released this week, or it's coming up, and so that always helps to be able to get that friendly reminder that it's about ready to get released. Get your bottle,
Yeah.
and so liking us definitely helps out with that.
Yeah. Well, I'm on board with you now, and we'll be looking for this Looking River Rye
Yeah,
very soon. And as corn whiskey comes out and Rockcastle Batch 18 comes out in the fall,
yeah,
maybe we can get you back on. We can talk some more about what's going on at Barrel House.
I would love it. I
Yeah,
would love
that'd
it.
be great. That'd be great. All right. So as for our show, as we said earlier, you can watch us on YouTube. You can listen to us on your favorite podcast platform, as long as it's Apple, Spotify, or Google. We have a Facebook page where we post all of our shows. We have a Facebook group where we can interact with everybody, and we can say what we're drinking that night, what we're listening to while we're drinking it. And, sometimes you'll come up with something. Hey, I've never tried that before. I've never listened to that before. Great way to find new whiskeys and new music. Rock is not dead, and neither is good whiskey. There's a lot of good stuff out there. So we appreciate everybody that's watching. James, thank you very much for joining.
You're welcome. Thank
Really
you.
had a good time. Your products are great. Love what you guys are doing. Just keep on keeping on. But on behalf of James and myself, until next time, cheers,
Cheers.
love, and free bird. Good night.
Good night.